SA Rugby magazine, Zelnel editor, Percy Montgomery, the Boks legend, Mark here, and from Keo.co.za. International rugby, it's Italy against the Springboks. My God, I can't even believe we're asking, will the Boks win?
Definitely.
Italy, 27-26 winners against Australia. I think you called that last week with your mate Dave Rennie.
Maybe.
Dave Rennie, 12 from 31. That's 37% win record. But Italy, we've picked potentially one of our strongest teams to play Italy. I can't believe that was part of the 4-test plan going into this tour. Is this a knee-jerk reaction to say, we've got to get a win, we've got to get a bit of confidence going into the England game? And why should we be this despondent after Ireland and France when there were 7 points in it and both games could have gone either way to the Boks? Anyone?
Well, I think the belief's there, definitely, especially after that France game. We saw it within the team, even playing with a man short and having a yellow card. The belief's definitely in the team, and we know what we're capable of doing. I think this Italy game is just about just a few more combinations coming in, and see what Rassie and Jacques want to do. But definitely a win for South Africa.
I mean, I know it's the 6-year anniversary of our loss against Italy, but we should never be sweating about a match against Italy.
You have to bring that up.
I did have to bring that up. I mean, it's not even a conversation. We have to smash Italy this weekend.
Right,
a win is non-negotiable. We should pump them.
Yeah,
all right, the last time we played in Genoa, Monty played his 50th. He came on the wing in the last few minutes.
Beautiful city.
Beautiful city. And we pumped him, but we went on that tour from playing in Argentina where Monty wasn't allowed to kick for 77 minutes, okay? Playing the most expansive Brumbies type rugby to picking Louis Kuhn, Bram van Straten and Trevor Holstead at 10, 12 and 13 against Italy and Dion de Kock at scrum half. So the tour flipped the other way around. We still won 50-26 back in the day. They got 2 charge down tries. But an Italian side buoyed by a very unexpected win against an Australian B side, 11 changes. We've seen them competitive at home in URC. Benetton has troubled some of our sides. Zebra has pushed 1 or 2 of our sides. But realistically, you should be thinking 15, 20 points for the Boks.
Yeah, you should be. But playing in Italy, it's a different crowd, and when they get their tails up, it's really difficult to. You got to be on your game against any team. Italy, we won't mention Japan, but let's listen here. Bok win have to. It's a non-negotiable.
I mean, you've played there, Monty. You've won well there. I go back to when we played at home in PE at Cabera, 60-14, and we got pillared in the media for only winning by 60 points to 14.
No, exactly.
You still had the Baroque blonde hair, you played fly off that day. So a great win at the old Boks Erasmus. But what do they do when you guys get there? What do they put in the Parmesan cheese? What do they put in the wine? The gondolas? Why do our Oaks turn to a bit of putty when they get to Italy? Is it just the romance of the place?
No, I think it's just the pasta, the red wine, the management guide for late dinners. It's a special place. I think Italy, their rugby has improved. The gap has got smaller. So if you're not on your game in any international game, you are going to find it difficult to win anywhere.
All right, so you've got Italy, who scored that magnificent win against Wales in the last minute. At that time I wrote, if Wales can't beat Italy, how are they going to beat the Boks at the Highveld? And then they nearly did. Not one of my finer moments, okay? They've beaten Samoa, they've beaten Australia. We really need to just pump them this weekend.
It's coming. It's coming. No, we're going to do it. We have to do it. I mean, all the excuses aside, we've spoken about how the Boks don't like to be favourites. They are clear favourites, regardless of the fact whether it's been a circus the last couple of weeks. But now, with the power we've got in that front row, we've got all of our best artillery there. We've got monsters in the backfield. There's absolutely no reason we shouldn't slice and dice these guys. And anything less, in my view, than a 20-point win is a letdown, because just the quality of the teams is completely different. I mean, the Boks are on another level. They should be. They're world champions.
Okay, we've been talking about it for a year. France are 12 unbeaten now. They've beaten everyone that's in that top 10, okay, including us. We kept on saying, Issa Nassia said, the French forwards will destroy the Boks forwards. We said never. We said the French will never play a pack like they play us, and that we are good enough to win by between 3 and 6 points. I think that was the general consensus. When you look in the context of that game, I saw the French players saying they have never played a pack as physical as the Boks, as hard as the Boks, and they know they got out of jail.
They couldn't wait to get off the field.
But the flip side is, and I've looked at all the stuff on social media, is if you're a French player or a French supporter, you would say they lost their most influential player, Dupont, the captain, on 56 minutes. They were down 26-22, having led 13-0. Yet somehow they still got away with the win. What does that say about them, or what does it say about us? And who would be, in terms of the change room, Monty, who would be feeling slightly more comfortable a year out from the World Cup, given those two teams have to potentially play each other in the quarterfinals?
Well, I think South Africa, we've played number one in the world, Ireland, and then now the French as well. We've seen what they've got, and I don't think they can come more out of it. And I think Rassie and Jacques will be sort of pretty happy how the tour has been going so far, because to be honest, we haven't even started playing yet. I think our big challenge is going to be England, as we know, but we've got to get through this little hurdle with Italy, and our big hurdle is England at Twickenham.
Would you say, and you spoke about this, Zels, that this French pack isn't quite as dominant as everyone has thought, and that the Boks showed that their first 40 minutes, I've never seen so many players come off physically battered?
Yeah, no, spot on. I mean, we spoke about the fact that the French pack was so vaunted, biggest pack in Europe, so physical, so dangerous, how the Boks going to cope with it. That's the thing we worried about going into the match. We lost the previous World Rugby Player of the Year and still bossed them around the field. We scrummed them with a centre at flank. And you could see those French tighties couldn't wait to fly off that field because they didn't like what they were getting out there. So physically, I've still yet to see a team that can match us consistently on the field. Physically, we've got that.
And just again, a lot being made about Rassie's tweets this week. I'm one of Rassie's biggest supporters. I thought what he did after the British and Irish Lions first test won us that series. But I've been appalled at what's going on social media this week, because France could have put 4 or 5 clips there as well to say defining moments went against them. Do you also just feel that we potentially lacked a little bit of composure in that last 5 minutes, in that we didn't play in the right area of the game when we were 26-22 up?
Yeah, so for me, the disappointing thing about the Boks is that we've been mucking about the selections. We've done some stupid things in that second test against Wales with how we've put the team together. There's a lot of continuity and cohesion that we could have built that we've squandered in the name of experimentation and other things. And that's put us in a situation where we lose games like that against France and we lose games like that against Ireland. I think if we'd gone full guns for realsies this whole season, those are 2 games that we win.
I go back to that All Black game at Ellis Park as well, Monty, where we kind of made 6 changes after we pumped them in Elsprat. Brought Dwayne back, who hadn't played for 3 months. From here on in, and you've been there, you've been part of a 2007 World Cup campaign, you're part of a as a player, 2011 as part of the management. Is it a case after Italy, from here on in, best 23 plays?
I think so. I think we need these 2 wins so much. I mean, Italy, we need a win. It's not going to be easy at Twickenham. They're going to be firing us. We all know how difficult it is to play at Twickenham. Yeah. But like Rassie's being under a bit of fire with his tweeting, I think, he turned those little tweets into a positive through a win. And and we take it from there.
Going back to your 2007 World Cup campaign, 2006, you guys had a difficult year. It was touch and go whether Jake would stay, whether Smitty would stay, and you got that last-minute win against Andre Pretorius kicked it in Rustenburg, I think it was. And 2007, the momentum started to build. And I recall you guys going to Edinburgh and smashing a Scotland side that was being spoken of as probably one of their best, 24-3, physically completely dominated them, and then the momentum kicked in. You beat Namibia by 100 here, played your best team against Namibia, played the midweek side against Connacht, and then you guys went on. Condition-wise and that, how do you see the approach of this team going into the next year for the World Cup?
You must understand, this team's been together for a long time. So there's that belief in the system, which is very important for Jacques, his management, and Rassie to keep that belief and the patterns together. And I believe it will come. I think, I've always backed Rassie and Jacques and the team, and I think they've got a strong belief. They're World Cup winners, and I think it's just about peaking at the right time for next year, but let's just get these 2 wins are very important, especially for our fans back home. There's been a lot of talk because there's just been too many egos of coaches, and Someone needs to put this all together and put a stop to it, because it's not good for our youth of rugby, for the players, playing and watching in South Africa. We need these 2 wins to maintain it.
Yeah.
You keep on saying, Zels, we showed Ireland we're capable of beating them, even though we didn't. We showed France we're capable of beating them, even though we didn't.
Yeah.
We have beaten the All Blacks. We've beaten Australia. The 2 losses against England have been by a point at Twickenham both times, and we smashed them in the World Cup. When you look at the nucleus of the squad, it's there.
100%. No, I mean, look, we are world champions and we are hot contenders for the next World Cup. Everything that happens on the field, I think we're in a good position. I think there are off-field distractions and some decisions that have been made that are putting us into this November tour at suboptimal levels. And I think that's the disappointing thing. I've got no doubt that when the World Cup comes around, we're going to be fired up and ready to go. It's just ironic that in a season where we're experimenting with selections and things, we go into the Italy game almost having to pick our best team now. Whereas ideally, we'd be in a position where this is the game where you try and find an answer at 13. Dion Free gets a go at hooker if you believe he's the 3rd choice. None of that's possible now because we need to win.
Give Mani Lebok a start at 10,
Exactly.
give Evan Roos a start at 8, and have the insurance policies on the bench.
Spot on.
This just reminded me a bit of 2015 when Heineke's Boks took a beating in Durban against Argentina unexpectedly, and he had promised a team of 7 or 8 players who would play the reverse match in Buenos Aires, and he changed it completely around and went with the full strength side. They got the win, and it completely disrupted the rhythm for their 2015 World Cup. I don't think Rassie and Jacques are at that level where there's that kind of confusion. I think, like you said it last week, Monty, he knows he's 23 for the World Cup,
No, definitely.
for the big games.
Definitely.
But he's doing himself no favors with a public that's adored him in the past. And with World Rugby, because he's attacking referees every week. And we were the most popular side 2019. We're becoming an unpopular side and nothing to do with the players. Players are playing their hearts out. A 50-50 call away from home. He's not going our way.
Definitely. 100%. I agree.
What's your advice to your mate? You've known him for 20 years, to Rassie.
I'll say stop tweeting, and I think let's get these 2 wins on our belt, and I think let's get our boys back home and get them in shape for the World Cup.
Yeah, my thing to Rassie is like, take that energy that you've got, that incredible IP when it comes to rugby, apply it to the game, pump Italy, go to Twickenham, make a statement there. I think they go to Twickenham and they make a statement there. France, Ireland go, oh my God, these guys, they've been toying with us, okay? They dropped the game against Wales and then came back and smashed them the next test. They comfortably beat New Zealand. I will always feel that they could have put New Zealand away for 3 years at Ellis Park.
Exactly.
They kind of reinvented New Zealand a little bit.
really like that.
But it's not doom and gloom for the Boks. I think it's just more annoyance from my side. And a bit pissed off when the heroic comeback should have happened.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, it's maybe a good thing that didn't happen because it does keep that humility there.
Exactly, but us South Africans need a good win. We needed 2 good wins now before the end of their tour.
Looking at Willie Leroux, he's been on the peripheral. People, will he go to the World Cup? Won't he go to the World Cup? You know yourself, experience of World Cup, and Oosterrand. When you came back from Wales, played your next 50 tests. But when Jake brought Oost back, a lot of people laughed. Why is he bringing Oost back? How influential was Oost during that campaign? When I see the role that Willie played against France, the way he organized the defense, the way he kind of talks on the field, you did say to me before we started the show, there's just only one thing he needs to stop doing.
Getting in the rucks.
Getting away from the rucks and telling the referee and the players what he thinks of them.
It worked for me. It worked for me. No, but it's good to have a senior guy like that around. It just calms everyone, especially bringing on a Burke, you know what I mean? Giving the youngsters a chance. Good to have those senior guys around and just helping them find their feet, and let's just go get this win against Italy. Come on, guys.
But if you take... I so much like Willie at fullback and Chesney on the right wing as opposed to Chesney at fullback and Willie on the bench. And then Curtly Orange has really surprised a lot. Has he gone ahead of Mapimpi? Or is it Mapimpi's going to start against England? What do you think?
It's interesting, because there are going to be quite a few high balls going up. I think again a lot of cross kicks in the Twickenham. It's difficult playing over there, the circumstances. If it's an evening game, wind conditions, you never know.
Are you looking at, if you go back to New Zealand's success in 2011, they effectively picked
Three fullbacks.
Three fullbacks.
Fullbacks, yeah.
So you had Richard Kahu, he played fullback, he played centre, he played on the wing, you had Corey Jane, you had Izzy Dag. And they completely diffused any high ball game. Now you've got a Kirkley Orenson, naturally a fullback, Chesson, who's played a lot at fullback, and obviously Villy, who's the master at fullback.
And they're good on the high balls. I think that's a winning.
Yeah, technically in the kicking game, I think it's a great choice. It was a great choice against France with the long kicking game to have three guys that can kick and run and good under the high ball.
Aerial skills, yeah.
But I think you're forgetting about the most important player in this team who's not there right now, and that's Lukhanyo. And when he's on the field, Mapimpi goes from a B+ to an A++. And I don't think you can underestimate the value of that combination. Yeah. They've done some crazy things in some huge games. And when Lucky's back, you've got to put Mapimpi back.
Well, he's a lot like Jacques Fourie was for you guys when he was playing at 13, in terms of his defensive organisation.
It definitely helps a lot having a guy like that around you. Just lifts your game up completely.
Yeah.
A lot made of the goal kicking, Monty. And as Skalkberger said afterwards, next time just draw tickets. Who's going to kick?
There's nothing wrong with our goal kickers. What are you talking about?
Every single kick went over.
Unbelievable.
Incredible first kick from Ches.
Yes.
From the corner, 50 odd meters. Two gimmies in front of the poles, but still pressure. Then Faf's conversion. But the guy whose kick that I thought was just so big in the context of what he's missed was Damian Willemse to take us to 26-22. But I have never seen a guy speak to himself as much as he did before that game. What was going through his mind, Monty?
I could just see the whole team was just, they were playing for Steph, Detroit going off. I could see Steph basically crying and letting his team down. And I could just see the belief in the team. They were playing for each other. The kickers came up and they confronted. They gave their best, and I love that. Yeah. But it's going to be a different story kicking at Twickenham, or so we that happens once in a while. But you still got to have your number one first choice kicker to come in.
Well, it goes back to, I think at the time 13-0. I thought, why is he taking a kick for poles from 50 odd meters on the angle? It's because if he missed, who cares? But if he misses from straight in front, he's gone for the day. So post that, I kind of understood the logic. But it's one thing when no one expects you. Piri Wipu, 2011 World Cup, 7 out of 7 against Argentina. And when they made him the first choice kicker for the final, he missed the first 5 because everyone then thought he could kick. So that kicking debate is still to come for the England test.
Later, yeah.
I don't think it's going to be now. But it was great to see Faf de Klerk looking like the 9 that played so well in 2019.
Yeah, that responsibility definitely breathes life back into Faf's game.
And for everyone else around us.
Spot on.
So if you go back to Rassie, 2018, 7 out of 14 they won. But they only targeted one game. And they said they had to beat New Zealand, one of the two. 6 tries to 4, they were outscored. Bowden Barrett misses 2 kicks. He hits the post with a conversion to make it 36 all. Damien McKenzie can't get the offload. On another day, New Zealand wins 45-34. But we win it, and Rassie says that was the belief they needed to say, to win the World Cup, we have to beat that team. As it turned out, they didn't have to. Right. They lost to them, and England pumped them. France was the team they targeted for this whole year on the tour because they hadn't played them since 2018. Was there enough in that game? Because he'll end this season potentially with a 7 from 13. And he will say, who cares? We've got enough now to go into a World Cup, to play Ireland, to play France, and
how
potentially
to play them and have a different game plan.
And we spoke about this last week, Monty. Is this where the whole dynamic is changing in the 4-year cycles? That you've got to target who you have to beat at the World Cup as opposed to win 85% of your games.
I agree with you 100%.
I don't think it's sustainable, though, because if you don't come into the Boks job with the World Cup trophy in your back pocket, no one's going to sit and keep quiet when you lose half of your matches. They're going to kick you out.
Well, you know the stat that he's 14 from 31, him and Jacques, since 2018 against the top teams. If you guys had taken over the Boks 3 years ago and you were 14 from 31, succeeding a World Cup winning coach or someone who bombed in the quarterfinals, would the public still be saying, in Zels and in Monty we trust?
No.
So they have a free reign because of winning the World Cup. Which then I go back to this question. As a player, in the beginning it may be a bit humorous, but do you really need the sideshows that your head coach and your director is busy producing? Because it's one thing to detract attention from the team for a big test. But do you need it for a week like this in Italy where he's fighting with his own organization with World Rugby?
No, you don't need it at all. You can't have put enough more pressure on the guys. The guys know, you know what it is to play international game away from home is enough pressure on as it is. So I just think keep those tweets, Rassie. Let's put 2 wins behind our belts and keep quiet. Let's just get the 2 wins and come home.
What I will say, Mark, is what Rassie has achieved is he's won the World Cup, then they've beaten the Lions after a season out, and now they're going to go into this next World Cup. Somehow he's moved the pieces so that the Boks are outsiders, disliked, backs to the wall, victim mentality, us against the world. That's where we thrive. You know, in a way, the bad PR may actually be good for the Boks.
We do thrive when the world hates us,
Yeah.
but when referees hate
No,
us,
fair enough.
Different story.
it's a very different story. And the one thing about that 2019 World Cup side, referees liked us in the sense that they really liked the Khaleesi-led, Rassie-coached team.
they understand,
And
yeah.
that 2007 World Cup winning side in Paris, I was fortunate to be there for the 7 weeks. I wrote a reflection of that, like 7 magnificent weeks. The Springboks were the most popular team in France throughout that tournament. The French people were at odds with their own team. The All Blacks were as arrogant as hell. They stayed outside of France. They were holidaying. England's never popular. The French supporters embraced that Bok team, okay? Yes. When I looked at the comments coming back after the test match from mates of mine who are in the media in France, from French mates that I have, it was Le Bok. They loved the Springboks and the way the Springboks played in Marseille. And they were like, we got out of jail today. We love your team. Then the crap started on the moaning and the whinging. And the French guys are, c'est la vie. If it's, you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. We need to get that approach back again because we need to go to France as being the most popular team outside of the host. Because I don't think they're going to go very far. And we need to become the adopted team. But in Italy, we won't be.
No, you won't. You spoke about popularity. You spoke about England. They're up against the All Blacks this week, Mark. It's going to be probably the blockbuster match of the weekend. Eddie Jones.
I think I'm going for an All Black win, eh?
All Blacks to take it.
Based on
All
what?
Black. No, just obviously, at Twickenham, I think it's about time the All Blacks put their stand in rugby again, as they did last week. And I think it's time Eddie just gets a little lost under his belt, eh?
Okay.
Sorry, Eddie.
What do you say?
Yeah, so my feeling is, I know we've spoken about it not being doom and gloom. I don't think the Bok tour ends on a happy note, which means that England wins.
No, that's England for next week.
Which means that England wins and they don't lose 2 in a row. So they're gonna beat the All Blacks. I mean, they're going to beat us, and All Blacks are going to beat England this week.
I don't want to talk about us in England. Otherwise, we don't have a show next week, okay? Let's just talk about this one. Twickenham, All Blacks against England.
All Blacks.
Okay. They've played 42 times in their history. England have won 8. And you know how I know they've won 8? Because that's all they ever talk about. They tell you they've won 8. They remember the ones they won. New Zealand remembers the ones they lost. And the last time they played, New Zealand didn't lose. They got embarrassed, humiliated, and annihilated. 19-7 in that World Cup semi-final, which was a wonderful game for us because England thought they'd won the World Cup that day. But I've never seen an All Black side physically so manhandled, so beaten to the punch at every turn. They haven't played England since then. They've come up against us. James Ryan's their new forward coach. They looked a lot better than that. Does New Zealand have the mongrel and the pack to counter England, and do they have the composure among their backs to actually play more Joe Schmidt rugby than Fozzie free all
I think
rugby?
Joe Schmidt's back at the office this week, and I think that's why I'm backing the All Blacks to win this game. I think technically they'll be on point, physically they'll be on point. England have been kind of shaky this November series, up and down, struggling to find their rhythm. It's a weird season.
And also the Barbarians beat the All Blacks as well. I think it was on the Sunday. So, and I saw Scott Robertson
was the coach.
Was the coach there. So there's going to be something to play for amongst the All Blacks.
Yeah.
You know, especially for after a World Cup, and there's talk of Scotty Robertson maybe coaching England in the future. So there's a lot to play for the players as well.
If you look, though, at and the talk this week in the media again, and then they're starting playing around with Scott Barrett at 6. The side still hasn't been picked. It will be picked after the show, but I'm sure they'll go Frizzell and Scott Barrett on the bench. But pick a team that's going to suit you, not the one that you think is going to counter England, okay? what I saw in the Welsh game and the Scottish game and the Japanese game is the old days it was like New Zealand has 30 players. Now they've got 15 and they've got a B team. There is a huge difference between their run-on team, their run-on pack, Mohanga at 10, Geordie Barrett at 12, Ione at 13, and potentially Bodie Barrett at 50 without Will Jordan. That team will play, the team that destroyed Wales. But England at home, it's a very different thing to Wales at home.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Twickenham.
You've played them all, Monty. Which one's harder?
No, I think All Blacks can take them at Twickenham, definitely. I mean, they're a big enough team. They've got the depth, and I'm definitely going for All Black win.
Okay, give me a scoreline.
All Blacks by at least 5.
Yeah, I've got the All Blacks by 6.
I've got England by 12. All right, I've got England
by 12.
Yeah.
That's a big
And you know, you Ux laughed when I said that Argentina would beat England, okay?
After last week, I'm keeping quiet.
But that was a piss take, okay? I never actually believed it, but they did beat them. I think England will win because I don't think Joe Smith's in charge of this team just yet. But he will be after this weekend. And they will then go home and think their biggest test had to be England at Twickenham. They got out of jail at Ellis Park. They were resurrected. And who did they really play after that? They pumped Australia a couple of times. They played Japan. They played Wales. And they played Scotland. Now it's like there's no Ireland, there's no France, and there's no us. It's England. They lose this one, they're right back to where they were in the beginning of the year, where I think they should be. So I've got England to win. Not quite as emphatically as they did in 2019. And I've got the New Zealand rugby public to be plunged into a state of despair for the summer. Okay?
Beautiful.
Over and above that, we never gave a scoreline on the box. So let's quickly get to that
I
one.
want to say Boks by 22.
Box by 3 tries, easy.
I've got the box with one of those gondola hard-fought 15-point wins, okay? I'm giving the Italians one more try, okay?
Interception.
And now for the big one. The world's #1 team against the world's #9. Do you know that the Wallabies are ranked 9th in the world, eh?
Listen, I'm going Australia.
Drew Mitchell, do you know
I
that?
think it's time. No, I think I'm going.
Monty wants to tell you, Drew Mitchell, that the Wallabies are ranked 9th in the world, eh? Anytime Monty saw a 9 in rugby was when you're looking at the scrum half's back. But Ireland won against 9. Who have you got to win this one?
I'm going Australia. You gotta have a.
Yeah.
You know what, it pains me to say, because we can't stand Australia, okay, in any sport. Love the country from a picturesque point of view. They've got some lovely people there, but when it comes to their sports teams, the only time we have a problem is when England plays Australia. You just want to draw because you never want anyone to win. But I'm going to go with these two gentlemen, the wise man from SA Rugby, the Bok centurion and legend, and I think Ireland are going to come a cropper.
I agree with that. 100%.
And Australia is going to win, and it's going to win by 1 to 3, because in their last 5 games, there's been nothing between those two teams. And Australia seems to play as well against Ireland as they do against us.
I think they're going to come out there and play for 80 minutes. I hope so.
And it really didn't help that the Australian-born winner, Mike Hansen, who went to Connacht only 2 years ago and qualified because of heritage, has turned around and said his mates are quite stupid. The Aussie mates aren't the smartest. So I think poor old Farrell has just looked at this oak and given him one of these and said, I didn't really need that motivation this week.
Look, I think Hansen was just taking the piss a little bit, but the point is that's the mindset of Ireland at the moment. They're #1 in the world. They beat the Boks, flying high. Australia still in Mortlock saying these oaks are a joke. Why are they even playing rugby? Australia's got a lot to lose. Ireland, one thing we know about them is they're not used to being #1 in the world. And if you look at how their fans are reacting to, even when they win, there's an uneasiness that's there. They're not sure how to cope with that mantle. So exactly. I like Australia to punk them this weekend and to just restore a little bit of order.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
But Ireland, it used to be a great place to go and visit and tour because they never won against us. And their supporters would say, they don't lose, we just get a few more points than their team. there's a bit of an arrogance that's crept into their supporters.
Big time.
And also, when I look at a Johnny Sexton, my God, you would think that he's the walking god of world rugby at the moment.
And
He
yeah-
owns things on the... We talk about Rassie does with tweets. What does this guy do on the field?
Yeah, never underestimate a wounded wallaby, yeah? Come on.
Joey. So we've got the Aussies to actually cause a surprise, and then if Japan knocks over France because Dupont's not there. Imagine that, eh? France loses to Japan at home.
No.
A couple of years ago, they drew at home against these guys.
Yeah.
No, let's forget about that one.
That's not gonna, last week's picks were so bad, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
What were you from last week?
I don't know, I think it was 0-4, 1 or 3. Yeah.
Eh? Monty, I think you were 4 from 4, eh?
Always.
And I was just asking for another chance. But it's a great weekend of rugby again because of the combinations. So you've got Boks Italy would be like a kind of play, like a group game, but England, New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, those are potential World Cup semi-finals as well.
You know what's nice about that England New Zealand is the ref is Nick Berry, so that's going to be add a little bit of spice to that game.
Well, yeah,
Should be a nice dimension to the match.
I hope Rassie's watching that game. Because if he puts out a video with 43 things, it's not because he's South African and moaning.
And there's a lot of pressure on actually RB and the refs and all the coaches with all their egos, you know, the brain trusts.
Yeah.
So it's quite an exciting weekend of rugby. You're right.
It's going to be great. And for the next couple of months, we are filming inside of the Century City Convention Center. Wonderful studio. And we're going to have wonderful prizes. One of them will include a weekend stay here, and it's a great place to stay. Percy's Lager, 24 beers. We will. You've got to visit SARugbymag.co.za. There's going to be a prize there and a competition, and there's going to be a question. It's going to be about this guy's career. So do your homework. And Daddy's Deals is one of our partners as well. They do some wonderful specials. We're going to be giving away a few prizes on that. So over the next few weeks, tune in, because not only are you going to hear the legend, the editor, and the quiet guy, you are going to win some serious prizes. To our man behind the camera, Imad, to Alex, thanks very much. And we'll chat to you next week when we say, Boga!
Go Boka! See you guys.